Project Mafulungan para Matuto. This time, pag-uusapan naman natin ang different types of permutations and their respective formula na ginagamit in solving permutations of an object. But before that, what is a permutation? Permutation is a mathematical technique that determines the number of possible arrangements in a set when the order of the arrangement matters. So, ibig sabihin, if we want to determine the possible arrangement of an event or an elements of a set, then we call it permutation. Tandaan natin, in permutation, order is important with or without repetition. Permutations can be illustrated by the following representations. We have that illustration, the permutation of n taken r at a time. It can be on the second representation, the third representation, the fourth representation, and the last representation. So, maaari nyo ma-encounter ang permutation in this 5 representation, but ito lahat ay tumutukoy sa permutations of an object. Now, let us determine the different types of permutations. First, permutation with repetition. Second, permutation without repetition. Third, permutation taken all at a time. The circular permutation and the multiple permutation. So, isa-isahin nating ipaliwanag ang iba't ibang types of permutations. First is the permutation with repetition. So, ano nga ba ang formula na gagamitin kapag ang ating problem ay tumutukoy sa permutation with repetition? The formula is the permutation of n taken r at a time is equal to n raised to the r power, wherein n is the total number of events to be arranged, and r is the sample of events to be arranged. So in permutation with repetition, ginagamit ang formula na ito kapag yung ating total number of events to be arranged ay pwedeng maulit. Okay? Halimbawa na lang. Example number 1, how many 3-letter words with or without meaning can be formed out of the letters of the word smoke when repetition of words is allowed? So that example is an example of permutation with repetition. Therefore, para isolve yung problem na yan, gagamitin natin ang formula na permutation of n taken r at a time is equal to n raised to the r power. So bakit tinawag siyang repetition? Dahil makikita natin sa word problem natin ang word na repetition. Ibig sabihin, yung mga letters na S-M-O-K-E ay pwedeng maulit para makabuo ng 3-letter words. Another example. In a lot, there are 10 numbers to choose from 0, 1 to 9, and you choose 4 of them. How many 4 digits can be formed with repetition out of 10 numbers? So, ang example number 2 na naman ay isa na namang permutation with repetition at ang gagamiting formula natin ay ang n raised to the r power. Bakit? Kasi if you can see, makikita natin sa ating problem number 2 na ang keywords natin ay with repetition. So, ibig sabihin, kapag na-encounter natin yung word na yan, ang gagamitin natin formula ay yung permutation with repetition. Next is the permutation without repetition. Ano naman ang formula na ating gagamitin kapag ang problem ay about permutation without repetition? Ibig sabihin, hindi pwedeng maulit. So the permutation of n taken r at a time is equal to n factorial all over the quantity of n minus r factorial, wherein n is the total number of events to be selected, r is the number of events to be arranged, and the value of r is always less than or equal to the value of n. Ano naman yung mga halimbawa ng ating problem ng permutation without repetition? Example number 1. How many three-letter words with or without meaning can be formed out of the letters of the word swing with repetition of letters is not allowed. So may kita natin sa ating problem number 1 ang keyword natin na not allowed. So ibig sabihin ito ay permutation without repetition. Example number 2, there are 7 pupils who entered a bus with only 5 empty seats. In how many ways can these pupils be seated? So, hindi natin makita yung word na without repetition or the words na not allowed. Pero kung iintindihin natin na example number 2, merong 7 pupils na pumasok sa bus at meron lang 5 upuan. Siyempre, ang isang estudyante ay hindi pwedeng umupo sa 2 upuan. So, makakaupo lang siya sa isang upuan at hindi siya mauulit na umupo sa isa pang upuan. Kaya ang ating example number 2 ay tumutukoy sa permutation without repetition at gagamitin natin ang formula na n factorial all over the quantity of n minus r factorial. Next, the permutation taking all at a time. So ano naman ang formula na ginagamit kapag permutation taking all at a time? So, ang formula is permutation of n taken r at a time is equal to n factorial. Wherein, n is the total number of events to be selected. Ano naman yung mga halimbawa na problem na kung saan gagamitan natin ng formula ng permutation taken all at a time? Example number 1. In how many ways can a group of 8 persons arrange themselves in a row of 8 seats? So kung iintindihin mo ang ating problem number 1, there are 8 persons at meron din tayong 8 seats. So therefore, lahat ng yan ay ma-occupy nila yung seats because one condition in permutation taken all at a time is the value of r is equal to the value of n. So 8 is to 8, therefore, we have to use the formula in permutation taking all at a time. Next, example number 2. In how many ways can 11 different books be arranged on a shelf? So kung iintindihin natin ang ating example number 2, lahat ng 11 books na yan ay aayusin sa shelf. So, ang 11 is our n, and yung r natin dyan is also 11. Next is the circular permutation. So, ang formula naman ng circular permutation ay P is equal to the quantity of n minus 1 factorial, wherein n is the total number of events to be selected. Ano naman yung mga halimbawa ng mga problem na kung saan makikita natin ang ating mga keywords na round and circular at kung nakita natin yan ay tumutukoy sa circular permutation at gagamitin natin ang formula na the quantity of n minus 1 factorial. Example number 1. In how many ways can 4 persons sit at a round table for a group discussions? So makikita natin sa example number 1 ang keywords natin na round tables or the keyword na round. So ibig sabihin ito ay tumutukoy sa circular permutation, and to answer that problem, gagamitin mo ang formula na the quantity of n minus 1 factorial. Second example, in how many ways can a group of 8 persons arrange themselves around a circular table? So may keyword na naman tayong circular, therefore, ang appropriate formula to be used is the circular permutation to solve that kind of problem. Next is a multiple permutation. Ano naman ang gagamitin nating formula kapag ang problem ay patungkol sa multiple permutation? Permutation is equal to n factorial all over the product of n sub 1 factorial, n sub 2 factorial until n sub k, wherein n is equal to the sum of n sub 1 plus n sub 2 plus n sub k. So ano naman yung mga problem na halimbawa na gagamitan natin ng multiple permutation na formula? Example number 1. In how many ways can the letter of the word Olongapo be arranged? So that kind of example is a multiple permutation kasi lahat ng letters natin ay i-arrange natin at merong mga magkakaparehas na letters dyan. Second example, the word Philippines has 11 letters. How many distinct permutations can be formed from all the letters? So another example is yung ating 11 letters from the Philippines, and then we're going to identify the possible arrangement of the letters. So using the multiple permutation formula, masasolve natin ang example number 1 at example number 2. So sa mga susunod na video naman, ipapaliwanag naman natin kung paano natin isasolve ang bawat problems na ating na-encounter sa first type of the permutation hanggang sa dulo ng permutation, which is the multiple permutation. Yan po ang iba't ibang types of permutations and yung mga formula na dapat gamitin when it comes to solving the different problems involving permutations. This time, let us check your understanding. So read each problem, identify the type of permutation, and the appropriate formula to be used in each problem. Number 1, in how many ways can 10 people be seated at a round table? Number 2, 5 ladies apply for 3 sales lady positions. In how many ways can these positions be filled by the lady applicants? Number 3, how many 3-letter code words can be made from the first 8 letters of the English alphabet if no letter is repeated? Number 4, in how many ways can 9 children stand in a circle to play a game? Number 5, how many possible arrangement of letters are there from the word Old Cabalan Integrated School? So what to do is you have to identify the type of permutation and the appropriate formula to be used in each problem. The answer will be posted in the comment box section after 2 to 3 days.